Hey Ian B, just want to say first, congrats on your baby. It's along the way, but it hasn't been born yet, and thank you a whole lot for everything you've done for the Souls community, man. I have, everybody has you in great self, esteem because you do a great job and you put a lot of hard work. So, thank you. Anyways, as for the game goes and the future of it, first I like to keep the what keeps FromSoft, and that's just keeping the story obscure and stuff like that. They do a great job, and I love them for that, and they should keep doing that. On some of the more specific features, on the covenants, I really like what you suggested, that your covenant determines your starting location in the game and the early tutorials you go through, stuff like that. Also, I like the idea of how they did this stuff in the Darkwraiths, that by deepening your allegiance to the covenant you would actually get the armor for the covenant. I think they should do that for all the covenants. Something that I don't like is, like, for example, Darkmoon, you have to kill Gwyndolin on a one playthrough, and then on New Game Plus, or then you can actually be a Darkmoon blade with the actual Darkmoon armor set, which totally sucks. I wish if there wasn't any other choice, I wish they did it like the Gravelord Servant, that you can kill Nito but still be a Gravelord Servant. You know what I mean? Other than that, I like how, for example, something that they did in Dark, there's no real point in deepening your allegiance to the Covenant because there's no reward for it, except like the shortcut when you're in the Chaos Servant or something. But the Darkmoon Blade is an exception because you can get more damage bonuses using the Darkmoon Blade spell at higher allegiances. So I think that this is something that they should do on all the covenants, like have more spells or have more variety that could have better bonuses to it as you deepen your allegiance. Because I mean, like, for example, Sunlight Bros, there's no point in going +3 because you don't get any bonuses. But that's something I think there should be more availability of. Also, I think they should have more interaction with your covenant leader. I always thought that it would be really awesome if you're a Way of Way, you can have contact with Allfather Lloyd, I think it's his name, and if you could like talk to Velka, if there was a Velka covenant, and stuff like that, that would be really awesome. But there's, like, for some covenants, like Way of White, or even the Princess Guard, like, you see whenever you're there, but there's no real interaction. So it'd be really awesome to have like more interaction with those characters and have them give you missions or something. That would be really cool. Also, I saw some of the other responses that you have about having like covenants being enemies, and that's just a great idea. Like, and then now having the Darkwraiths and the Darkmoons as enemies, that's really cool. And I don't know, I just think that, like, for example, if there was a specific covenant for killing Guinevere or something like that, and then you had Darkmoon Blades be enemies of that covenant or something like that, pro Sun against the Sun, or pro Blade against the pro Fire against Fire, that would be really cool, I think. Also, a lot of people say that they want penalties for betraying your covenant. I'm actually taking it a step further. I want absurd penalties for betraying your covenant, because right now, even like, you have to say absurd in order for people to take you seriously. I just want like some real penalties, like, you for a whole month, if you betray your covenant, you are the #1 target for the covenant you betrayed on, and you constantly get invaded. You can't do anything. It's just like they make your life hell just because you betrayed the covenant. I want it to be that serious. Something that I really found in this game that was lacking is attention to the early game. Some stupid issues that I have with the games, especially more specifically towards newer players or something like that, or early game balance, is that, for example, in Dark Souls, you could have access to the Black Knight Halberd almost immediately, right? Like, you just grab the 3 humanities that you have at the very beginning of the game, the one that you get from the Asylum demon, and then you have pretty much 4 humanities to try to farm the Black Knight Halberd. It's an absurd powerful weapon for the early game, and it's so easy to upgrade with Twinkling Titanites, and I just think that really destroyed, or really broke the balance of the game, which is it's meant for you to struggle a little bit, do a little damage, so you can learn the mechanics and stuff like that. And I think that they should pay attention to that kind of thing and not let it be available so early in the game. Also, something like the game is also very unbalanced early game, because it favors int builds. There's nothing really stopping you from getting the enchantment Ember and farming blue titanite chunks from the ice crystal golems near the Hydra in the Darkmoon Basin. And I think that those kind of little details really favor some builds more than others. In this particular case, the Int builds. And that really, I think that just, like, for example, you can't farm red or white chunks early game. So I think that just puts some builds at a disadvantage over others early game. And I know that early game is not such a big issue, but I think that those kind of details, I guess they could iron out those just to make it more balanced. Concerning the weapons, I think that something that they did great is keeping the weapon diversity. It's so great, it's so big, and that's what makes PvP so nice, because you're constantly fight somebody, people, different people. I just think that there's a lot of things that they can fix upon, but just on the diverse topic of weapons, that's just great. I think that they should definitely implement dual wielding. There's no reason to do it. I never do it. I see all these people out there that do it, like, oh, I'm a dual wielding katanas or dual wielding pyromancies or something like that. It's like, there's no point. I mean, there's really no real point. So I just simply, I want them to implement it. As some people already stated this, but I find that the upgrade paths are redundant, or there's no real point to it. I mean, sure, they change slightly in scaling, but there's no real point. Like, for example, just keep it physical, magical, fire, electric. Just remove the enchanted, chaos, raw, and crystal. Also, and give every single weapon the same upgrade path. Like, I don't want specific weapons that upgrade with Twink into Titanite, or Demon to Titanite, or Dragon to Titanite, or all that stuff. I just simply wanted to be regular items that, like the plain old shards and large shards and chunks. Just make it very simple. And I want them also to pay more attention to the weight to damage ratio, because don't get me wrong, dragon weapons are great, but they're like absurdly heavy, and and the amount of output damage that you can get out from them, or at least let's just look at the DPS. It's not that different from like a halver or something, which weighs like half that weight or something like that. So I'm just saying, pay more attention to these kind of things, because it's just, I don't think it's unbalanced. You probably see even more people wielding a greater variety of weapons if they pay more attention into balancing the DPS. Also, let's see. Also, I like to see that they nerf the normal upgrade path of weapons, because I think that it makes it unfair towards the other players that want to have like dual nature weapons, like like lightning weapons, which is normal in lightning, or normal in fire, normal in magic. So nerf that damage, because usually those players that go through that upgrade path, they're always gonna buff. So if they're gonna buff, or they're gonna apply some item enchantment, or item buff or something, make sure that it's only because you took the normal path, that damage is only slightly higher than the ones that are dual, that dual type weapons. So just could be more balanced, because right now it's just it's got the point of the metagame has gotten that everybody's just simply wielding either chaos weapons or normal weapons, or the more experienced players, and that's where the metagame is. And I like to see a more varied metagame. Yeah, I already touched on the point that the weight to damage ratio is absurd for some weapons, like dragon weapons, and I think they just simply should look more into that. Just try to balance it on DPS and make sure that the weight is always balanced and stuff like that, because it's just really bad in some cases. Also, I like to see them remove the scaling of defenses with humanity and resistances. The only reason why I want them to take this kind of mechanic out of future games is because it makes you farm, and whenever you have to farm, it's a chore, and it just simply ultimately it takes away from the fun of the game, in my opinion. So the less you have to farm, the better. I don't mind farming for upgrade items and stuff like that, but that's not too much. But when you're trying to get to like 99 humanity or something like that, that's just absurd. I like the idea of adding slots to the weapons. Like, if you ever played Fable 3, you'll find that some weapons, they'll have some, like Fable 2, they'll have some slots where you can add enchantments or something like that to it. So I think that would be great for these kind of games, because currently there's so many weapons that are just so heavily unused, like curved weapons, or like some of the weaker shields that don't do 100% physical blocking, you know, they don't have 100% physical resistance. So these weapons these weapon shields, they don't get used a lot. So I think that these kind of slots that could, you just put some enchantments on it, would be so awesome. Because it's like you suggested one time that you don't want to have the crown of dusk on your character just so you can get the damage buff, but make your character look goofy. I think that the slots would be a great way to address this. Of course, they would have to do their own balancing in the, you know, back in the back end, just to make sure that nothing is broken. But I think that's a great way to handle that issue. Let's see what else I have. I have that spells need to be more balanced. Oh my god, yeah. Wrath of the God and Great Combustion, they do like an insane amount of damage, and they're really, really, really quick. Whereas Sunlight Spear or something like that, it takes twice as long to execute, but it kind of does more or less the same amount of damage. But on the other hand, Great Combustion's DPS is like absurd high, and Wrath of the Gods too. So I think that this just needs more fine tuning. Magical paths need to favor both sides. This is something that you've addressed before, that like faith builds, favors more strength. You know, strength and faith are kind of like they favor each other, and magic and dex favor each other, and I think this should be eliminated. I think there should also be more offensive miracles. This is something that we saw in Demon Souls, and kind of repeated here the same way as well. Like, for example, sorcerers, they have access to Soul Arrow, and Soul Arrow has like 30 uses, whereas and has a very low int requirement, whereas miracles like offensive miracles like Emit Force and Lightning Spear only have 10 uses and they're like really slow to use. I know that Lightning Spear requires 20 faith, but I don't know how much faith requires Emit Force. But the thing is that it requires probably more than what you need for Soul Arrow, and it has a lot less uses. So it does more damage, I'll admit to that fact. But the point is that there should be more offensive miracles, you know, some weaker ones with a lot more use, stuff like that. But there's not a whole lot, and I want to see more damaging offensive miracles. On armor, a lot of people have many opinions on these. I'm not gonna jump a whole lot, but me particularly, I don't care about looks. I mean, I don't have my character doesn't look all badass, but you know, enough is good. Good enough is good enough, and that's what I care about. And it's really hard to balance to top it off. But I gotta say that I really love your idea on having different levels of armor, such as light, medium, heavy, and very heavy. But the big problem is that poise isn't addressed properly. Like, and it's my opinion that this game is brutal on new players that are playing and have no poise, since if they're playing like a mage or something, which would have no poise, or a pyromancer, every time they would try to cast their spell, all they have to do is just get touch. All they have to do is get touch, and boom, interrupt it. And that's something that you don't have with light armors. You don't have enough poise, or you don't even get poise to just poise through that, at least get your attack through, and that makes the game even harder for newer players. And the sad thing is that at least FromSoft did think about this, because they added 3 options for really light armor that had poise, like the hollow shirt and armor, and the hollow waistband or skirt or whatever thingamajig is, that are really low and have poise. But they don't have. But I want to see that in other armors, that's like a cleric armor, have some, I don't know, just some poise in there, so just survive, and at least every once in a while get a hit off or something. I just think that that's something could really help the player base and get more newer players involved in the game, because a lot of people are like, ooh, magical character, I want to play that, but then they get frustrated because they don't know what they're doing. So I just think that could really help out. About online, I just want them to fix the PvP lag issues and forget matchmaking algorithms like they do out there in Call of Duty or stuff like that, or other matchmaking games. Just don't forget about matchmaking. Just fix the lag and stuff like that. I know they don't currently have matchmaking, but a lot of people, because they want some really heavy online stuff, they'll probably want that. I'm just telling them from now on, forget about that. Just forget about that. Just fix the lag issues. That's what we need. And if for some reason they just can't fix it, I don't see why they shouldn't. But if they can't, if that happens, they just simply disable backstabs and parries and PvP. And yeah, I said it, I don't care, just disable it, okay? I'm not telling this to you, I'm just FromSoft, AMB. But last but not least, the one thing that FromSoft should keep doing is keep Miyazaki designing these games. And he's done a great job so far. He has a proven track record. He's doing a great job. Just keep him on. And also let him keep trolling us with pranks like the pendant comment. I knew that the pendant didn't do anything, but I'm just happy that he admitted to the fact that he was pranking everybody. I just think he's a great guy. He's a great, he's a genius. Just let the man do his work. Anyway, Christian ENB, so I'll pray for you and your family and your child's well-being. God bless you, man. God bless you for all this great work that you've done for the community, and keep up the good work, man. Have a great one. Bye-bye.